Hello, my name is Kiara Rasaski. I'm a fresh graduate in Korean Studies, University of Indonesia, class of 2017. As we all know, Ki Duk is a controversial scriptwriter and director from South Korea. Internationally, Ki Duk had quite a reputation because his film has its own uniqueness and its own color. Ki Duk's film also frequently participated in international film festivals. One of his films, Pieta, won an award in Venice International Film Festival in 2012. In his film Pieta, Ki Duk tries to convey a message implicitly about the cruel impact of capitalism on the proletariat, especially in South Korea during the process of industrialization and modernization. If we see in trailer in YouTube, we probably think that Pieta is about a mother's love towards her child, but the fact is, it says the otherwise. Through the film, a social reality such as poverty and crime that occurs in the lower socio-economic sphere is reflected. Focused on the lower class and proletariat, Ki Duk feels that the rise of capitalism that is happening globally has created a domino effect in social problems or conflicts such as work alienation and Kkangpae, or also known as thuggery. This is shown by scenes in the film where the workers are working solely to survive, reproduce, and paying the debts. The film is set in Cheonggyecheon, one of the central industrial areas in South Korea, and become a witness to the South Koreans' industrialization process. Historically speaking, the Cheonggyecheon area has high rates of poverty and crimes. In addition, Cheonggyecheon also has a very low quality and life expectancy rates. Furthermore, many refugees settled in Cheonggyecheon after the Korean War ended in 1953. In the context of modernization and industrialization in South Korea, the government later held a project to restore Cheonggyecheon, one of which was the construction of more modern high-rise buildings. As a result, many small shops were evicted, causing workers to lose their jobs. Seeing socio-economic conditions of the Cheonggyecheon society like this, the upper classes then use it to extort the proletariat by lending money in order to survive. However, this loan of money then carries a very high interest rate, so that the proletariat cannot afford it and is trapped in a cycle of poverty. Through this research, I aim to describe more deeply how the forms of social phenomena that occur in the proletariat due to the capitalist system in Pieta's film through the review of the Sociology of Marxist Literature. To conduct this research, I use a descriptive qualitative method. The first step is that I choose a film to become a primary source. Second, I make my choice of film and watch it. After that, I sort out and pinpoint the scenes that are relevant to the direction of my research. From the result of my research, I found that there are two social phenomena that occur in the film. Those are work alienation phenomenon and the Kkangpae phenomenon. First, let's talk about the work alienation phenomenon. In the work alienation, there are three aspects that includes in it: alienation from oneself, alienation from the others, and alienation from the property rights. In the aspect of alienation from oneself, Marx said that people who experience alienated from themselves are people who don't feel happiness or any sense of accomplishment after completing the production or work process, experience compulsion in doing their work, and impoverish themselves because they do not realize their talents and abilities. These aspects can be seen in the characters of Hoon Chul and Myung-ja, a husband and wife who work in an iron factory in Cheonggyecheon. At the beginning of the film, both look very confused and scared because they don't have the money to pay off their debt to Lee Kang-do, the loan shark. Hoon Chul and Myung-ja also often blame each other because they agree to borrow money or insurance so they can survive. Although borrowing money from a loan shark has risky consequences. One of these consequences was the oppression and torture they had to endure from the loan shark. Lee Kang-do could do anything as he pleases only to get his money back. The feeling of surrender and risking their lives for some money signifies a helplessness that is often experienced by the proletariat. This is in line with the thought of Karl Marx, who said that the powerlessness of the lower classes of society gives opportunities for them to continue to be oppressed by the upper classes. Because they were unable to pay off their debt, Hoon Chul had to accept the consequence of losing his right arm because of Lee Kang-do's torture. Being disabled and have limitation, it affects Hoon Chul and Myung-ja in doing their work. Both are forced to quit their factory jobs and find another way to survive. Myung-ja, as a wife, then replaced Hoon Chul's role as the head of the family and looks for money to survive. Myung-ja then sells snacks and rice puff on the side of the toll road and only relied to buyers who pass by. Based on Hoon Chul and Myung-ja's case, it appears that they are both forced to work and impoverished themselves because they both work just to pay off their debts, and when they can't pay it, they have to accept risky consequences by losing one of Hoon Chul's arm. After that, Myung-ja was not sincere in replacing Hoon Chul's role, and she also did not use other talents or abilities that she had and only depended on the compassion of others who wanted to buy her goods. Second, on the aspects of alienation from other people. Alienation from other people is if humans are alienated from their essence, then they will also be alienated from other people. They can happen because when a person is alienated from themselves, their social nature will also be alienated. This aspect is reflected in the character of this film Pieta, which is in the character Yoon Mi-hyun. Yoon Mi-hyun is a character worker who chooses to end his life to be free from the burdens of life that he has. Mi-hyun works continuously so that he can earn money to fulfill his needs and pay off his debts. However, this job causes Mi-hyun to lose his social character, so he is isolated from his social environment, and he only does a monotonous routine, which is work. Mi-hyun doesn't have anything else to do because Chun Ki-chun will soon be evicted. This eviction resulted in a drastic reduction in the number of incoming orders. Due to the reduced number of orders, Mi-hyun's income becomes uncertain. As a result of these problems, Mi-hyun's burden on his mind is increasing, and he is increasingly confused about how to pay off his debts and survive. Not infrequently, the magnitude of the burden of thought and pressure experienced by a person can affect his mental health. Therefore, many people choose to end their life as the only way to do that so they can be free from all the problems they have. I conclude that Mi-hyun belongs to the isolation from other people. This can be seen from the evidence that refers that Mi-hyun is someone who isolates himself and does not socialize with other individuals. This is in accordance with Marx's thought that someone who experiences alienation from others will experience a degradation in his social nature. This is well illustrated in Mi-hyun's character when he chooses to end his life because he is ashamed of having a lot of debt. Therefore, he chose to commit suicide and fly forever from the world. Based on the discussion above, it can be said that one of the social phenomena that occur in the lower class society is work alienation. Work alienation that experienced by all the workers did not suddenly arise in the lower classes of society. Instead, the alienation of workers is triggered by the exploitation by the upper class, and the wages given are not commensurate with the energy expended. The exploitation of workers experienced cause them to be entangled in a routine that is repeated continuously until they question the essence of the work activity. Thus, they believe that work is no longer a means of self-realization and self-actualization. The second social phenomenon is the Kkangpae phenomenon. The word Kkangpae itself is a term that emerged after the Korean War in 1953. The word Kkangpae is an amalgamation of two words and from two different cultures, between America and Korea. The word Kang is an absorption word from the English word gang, while the word Pae is an abbreviation of the word Paeguri in Korean. Paeguri in Korean means a group. The word Kkangpae refers to someone who commits acts of violence as a form of regulation. In Pieta, the nature of characteristics of this Kkangpae is then reflected in the character of Lee Kang-do. Lee Kang-do is a debt collector who works at a private money lending institution. If we go back a little, the nature of Kkangpae that is reflected in Lee Kang-do's character does not appear instantaneously, but it is also supported by the background of Lee Kang-do's life. Living alone for more than 30 years, Lee Kang-do is an individual who is isolated from others. Furthermore, Kang-do's isolation makes his social nature also alienated. Thus, Kang-do seeks validations and recognition from other individuals by using violence as proof that he is real in his social environment. Kang-do's violence and brutality aims to show that he has power or dominance so that he is no longer belittled or underestimated. Based on the film, Kang-do has a higher tendency towards brutalism towards workers who have absolutely no money to pay their debts. This can be seen from Kang-do's treatment of his first victim, Won-chul and Myung-jun. The second victim is Taesung. Kang-do tortures Taesung by stepping on Taesung's broken leg and also hitting him with a stone. This is done by Kang-do because he wants to make sure that Taesung debts run so that he can no longer pay his debts. In addition, Kang-do also tortures Taesung so that the insurance money will be received by Kang-do in exchange for the unpaid debt. Based on Marx's view, which says that in a capitalist system, alienation is characterized by the power of money. In other words, humans act only to make money and get the maximum benefit for self-interest. Moreover, as long as the problems of low wages, exploitation, and the accumulation of unlimited wealth persist, capitalism will always exist. Thus, the role of money can be a force or power that can control and determine a person's social character. Money can also make a person act beyond human, greedy, and selfish. So efforts that can be made to solve the domino effect problems are the system improvements. The system that needs to be improved, including improving its work system and the justice of its worker, which is accompanied by an improvement in the labor wage system. Thank you.